Hey everybody, welcome to the next video in the series. Firstly, I want to say that I appreciate everybody investing in this content. Super cool to see the reactions from people, and overall, I mean, more people purchase this than I thought. So just to be transparent, I have, around $4,000 in sales, guys. So definitely growing a little bit of a community here, a little, I don't know what you would call it, the wedge community, whatever. But yeah, super cool, and I appreciate it. So in this video, there's going to be some live trading. Now here's the thing. In this morning, I forgot that when I have my heater on, it is kind of noisy, it is kind of annoying. So you will be hearing that in this video, and going forward, I will not, I won't have my furnace on in the mornings. I'll just kind of put on the hat and get warm, and I'll be alright. So there's that. What else? The editing. It's a lot harder to edit these things than I imagined. It's hard because you want to show the play, you want to show how it's developing, you want to show the tape, and the problem is, in some of these plays that take a long time, it's like literally watching paint dry. It's the most boring thing ever. So I tried to mix between cutting some parts, speeding up some parts, and then just showing parts that I felt overall were too important to cut out. As far as highlights go in the morning, I saw the play of the day, SQNS, I believe the ticker was. I saw it in the morning. I almost pulled the trigger in the 520s, but I hesitated, and that hesitation, it cost me. It cost me big. It was basically the play of the day, and I didn't get involved in it. But you will see that. You will see the hesitation in real time. You'll see the plays that I was focused on and camping and trying to, I was basically planned and ready for. Those plays actually didn't work, and that was over a long process. I tried to give them time. I tried to be patient, but in the end, both those plays, they didn't pan out. So you get to see what it's like when you have a really slow morning, a frustrating morning, and it can be really easy to kind of think to yourself, "Oh, I'm not performing. I'm not catching the plays that are running. What's happening?" It's easy to panic. It's easy to get overwhelmed and overtrade, or start getting sloppy. And you kind of do see that a bit in the morning. I did kind of lose composure for a second there. I think pretty critical. A critical play was MDLY. I bought 1,000 shares in at a 762 average, I believe. It got up to 810, I think, at the top, and then it came down on me, and I ended up cutting it for a $100 win. Right after I cut it, it reversed, and a surge of just FOMO came into my mind, and I completely lost trading composure, and actually market bought at 815, the price. So just one of probably the worst plays I've made in a few months. Not from a perspective of a big loss, but from the perspective of just completely losing mental composure, and you will see that in real time. So look, it's a long video, and I don't really expect everybody to just sit through it all. My suggestion on YouTube, if you look at the settings, you should be able to increase you can make it like 2x, so you can make the video go faster in certain parts that are slower. Kind of adjust, right? Adjust the settings as you go on, and try to get an optimal kind of playback. Because I don't want to waste your time, but I also think that there's some really good nuggets of information in this. And in the future, I'm gonna try. I may try to only go over like one really like a banger play. I would say like something I really nail for a ton of money. Maybe I would only show that, and maybe only show plays that are more like momentum plays, not like these patience plays that take a really long time to complete, because it is just extremely boring to watch. So I tried, I tried to edit it the best I could, and then near the end, things kind of picked up, and I was playing like 3 tickers at once, and it was just like too much to edit, so I kind of just left that raw. Yeah, so I'm gonna say, on this video, maybe feedback would be helpful. So, because honestly, yeah, the live trading videos, it's like a new level of difficulty to edit these and actually present it in a way that is consumable content. But we'll see. Again, I'm just kind of experimenting with this whole thing, and I'm just putting out random pieces of content that I feel might be helpful for different people, and hopefully it is. So we'll see. Going into next week, I will be making just a live video of how I prepare. So it's going to be in pre-market. I'm going to be, making my watch list in real time. Just going into that and explaining a bit more how I prepare in the morning, just for people that wanted to see that. So that's kind of the next thing that's coming. And then as well, I'm going to be continuously doing some deep dive videos where I just go over former plays that I really liked and break them down in really specific detail. So I'll be also coming out with those videos every so often. So just when I get the time to put them together, and then I'll just send them to everybody in the email list. And yeah, so let's get on to the video. Thanks. Jesus. Alright, so in that spot, really nice multi-day chart. You can see it's starting to break out. Thought it would test 2, maybe surge to the 240s. But when something is that slow and then a big wall comes in at 198, you can see that ask came in. So I just sold it, you know. Basically, the small win is irrelevant in that case. What I'm really doing is just protecting myself. So no matter where I get filled, you know, that sell is just designed to protect myself from a dump in case it completely fails. So what I do, I sell it, and then I can reevaluate it. So, you know, maybe in 30 minutes, maybe it's able to hold the range and recover and consolidate. Then maybe I'll take another shot at it. I'll take another shot at VBLT, kind of like it. So 2,000 shares at 197 just to see if it can have a quick surge, just because that multi-day is so good. So we'll see if that can retest. And I'm willing to risk, you know, the 194 or whatever happens type of thing, because I just feel so strongly that the upside potential is there. Would be nice to get a large bid prop though, like 20k share bid prop or something. I think that could really cause it to surge. And if I do get that bid prop, I could have potentially added. VBLT is kind of a patience play, so it's really hard to analyze this. See that nice little bounce set up here? It's interesting. I'm not too convinced though. For me to be comfortable, I would have had to take the trend change around 472 or like 478. I don't like the entry in the 480s though. So I'll just leave that. You can see VBLT testing that 198 level. Pretty nice structure, tested, came down, held gains, retesting. Not bad. Again though, like bid prop would be really nice for this. Yeah, I just wish the size was coming in. Although a lot of the size on VBLT is kind of like hidden. It's like hidden orders, so it's kind of hard to get a feel. Go ahead and add 2,000 to VBLT. Then if it breaks 198, I'll take another 1,000, make my total 5k. And then obviously if it comes down on me, I'll just have to quickly cut. You can see VBLT is forming an ascending triangle. that correlates with the long-term chart breakout. It's quite nice. And you got HUSN, which is just holding gains near 3. You can see for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's been forming those higher lows, uptrend into the $3 range, with kind of a triangle formation on that multi-month chart. I'll just go ahead and take 2,000 shares here at 3 on HUSN. Just to see if the market wants it. You know, if the market wants it and they surge it, it could become a halt play. It could surge real quick with this low float. So I'm willing to go for it. I mean, the risk is very minimal. And VBLT, it looks like I'll be adding most likely. I'll go ahead and add 1,000 shares. So that puts my total at 5,000. And I'm not going to add any more. I'm just going to let it roll, and whatever happens, happens. So if momentum doesn't get going on VBLT, I'm going to be forced to cut it, most likely. Just because it's not going, it's not moving. So it is a little concerning, especially if it doesn't surge. Like within a minute or two, I'm going to be pretty concerned. And HUSN, I mean, this is obviously not what you want to see. You want the price to move, and just the market just doesn't really appear to be interested. So basically, what happened this morning is I hesitated on the plays that worked, and then on the plays that I took, it just doesn't really look like they're that great right now. I kind of like ENG. I bought 2,000 shares at 177. I just really like this wedge here on the long-term chart. I think it could definitely find a surge out of it, maybe go to 210, maybe 220, to kind of retest some of those levels. I think it's certainly not bad, and there was enough support on the bid that even if I was wrong, I really wasn't risking that much, so I really like it. I'm going to go ahead and just put a sitting limit at 219. Looks like VBLT is breaking out of the 198 level. I'm just not willing to add. You know, those bids are hidden, and there's just no way of knowing how hard something like this can dump. So look, 5,000 shares for something like VBLT is a very large size. I have no interest in adding. It's just too risky. The only way I add is if something, you know, like a 30,000 bid prop, you know, something big. If something very big comes in, then the option is there. I could potentially add. But other than that, I'm not really too interested. HUSN, pretty nice support comes in. I like that. And ENG, a little slow. Not sure if it's going to work out for me. Really needed to push over 185 with some momentum. If not, I might just cut down. Yeah, I'm going to cut down. So it's just not something that I need to be in. I was just looking for a faster move on ENG. So I cut it at 181 and locked up $80. So again, the small win is irrelevant. I'm really just holding it, trying to feel it out. And yeah, that bid prop disappeared, and then it started to come down, and it's like, it could reverse. And it was just something I wanted to take a quick stab at, just to kind of see. And maybe this is breaking plan. You know, maybe this is kind of breaking plan. So potentially that may have just been like really bad, but my instincts were kind of telling me just get out. Also, I'm in 2 plays, right? So if I'm trying to focus on 2 plays, you know, this third one that maybe isn't as important, I don't mind just cutting it. Gotta say, not the best reaction from VBLT. I mean, it breaks out over the new high of day and doesn't even take out 199, so it's kind of concerning. I'm gonna add 1,000 HUSN just to try to get momentum going. I do see nice 5,000 shares are on 299. It's moved up, it's held. I'm willing to add 1,000 shares to push it, you know, try to get momentum going in the name, see if other people will follow me in. If not, the risk is appropriate because of the bids moving up with size. It could still dump on me, certainly, but we'll see. Again, just like playing HUSN because of this long-term downtrend that it's breaking out of. So it does appear that I did sell ENG too early. I broke my trading plan and sold it. So I guess I learned from my mistake here. And now I'm doing something you really shouldn't do, which is re-entering. Really shouldn't do that. You know what, I regret getting involved, so I'm going to cut it. I just regret it. I shouldn't have bought it. So I'm going to correct my mistake and just cut it for a $4 win and just forget about the ticker. And as you can see, SQFT, big runner of the day. I was there, you know, I had it open, I was ready to go, I was thinking of buying it, I hesitated, and, you know, just nice to see that, hey, even the best traders hesitate, make mistakes. But if there's one thing that I did do well, it was I didn't chase it, I didn't get involved again in the random area. Like, we had a very clear price entry zone. It was very clear, and I didn't take it, okay? That's my fault, and you know, a good way to take responsibility for your mistake is to not chase it up, to not get involved again, and just kind of accept it, learn from it, and move on. You know, it's gonna happen. Happens to everybody. At this point, HUSN is really slow to the point where I might just cut it. It's a close spot. Cutting it is certainly not bad, and it looks like VBLT might give the push over 2, which again, I'm just not willing to add to. I'm perfectly happy with 5K shares. I guess at this point I'll get the limit order in. I would be really happy with a surge to 239. I'd be very happy with that, yeah. Alright, it's over 2, so now it's just a waiting game to see if I can get the push to where I want it to go. See the chart, just really nice development here. Could be a patience play as well, so it might just be like, I might even have to hold this for a full hour, maybe even 2 hours, but the key here is it's working for me. It's uptrending for me. I'm up money on my position. I can just have some patience, really try to let this thing find an uptrend. I just really have to stick to the plan at this point. And I'm going to do my last ad on HUSN. Puts me 5,000 shares in. It's been uptrending steadily. I like it. And if VBLT fails too, I don't know. I might have to cut it. And these plays are very iffy today. I'm not really too comfortable. I'm a little late to see this PT. Yeah, that was quite nice. I was just too late. Really need HUSN to push for me. Okay, it looks decent. I mean, I don't really know how to read this. It's just one of those plays that sometimes they explode, a lot of times they don't. The risk reward is great, but you just don't really know what's going to work amazing or what's going to fail, you know? So it is, it's definitely kind of gambly, but you know, with reward that good, I was willing to go for it. Looks like it might fail on me though. You know, some plays just confuse me. This is like a low float play with a very nice long-term chart, and you know, sometimes the market loves them and they pump them right into a halt. They run $1 a share, just a crazy play. And then other times it's like the market just doesn't bite. You know, the market doesn't care. It's very interesting. What causes, you know, the market to be interested in one thing over the other? I couldn't tell you. I really don't know. Definitely is unfortunate. Both my plays just don't have the momentum that I was looking for. Um, so far it's just, yeah, very concerning. I might just have to abort mission. Like, honestly, this is really it's really risky at this point, as far as like a time frame approach cut, because it's just not moving. That's very concerning. Alright, at this point, HUSN is too risky. I have to cut. It's just, look, I was going for something very specific. It didn't break out of 3 with strength, and now bids are or the ask is coming down. I just can't risk it. It's far too risky. So I cut it. I lost about, I think, $60 on that. So look, I lost $60 for something that had potentially $5,000 of upside, best case scenario. So pretty good risk reward ratio. I don't really mind too much. And VBLT, if this doesn't get going in the next 5 minutes, I'm probably going to cut out of this as well. It's going to have to hold 2 and then flag to new highs very soon. Should also mention that while I'm kind of just like waiting for my plays to work or fail, I'm also analyzing other stocks that I'm getting off Stocks to Trade. Just taking a look, pulling up charts, looking at long-term charts, seeing, you know, I'm just looking at all the criteria essentially. Seeing, you know, the major runners and just looking at them, you know, seeing how they're moving. So not my best trading this morning. Hesitated on a SQFT, which was the major runner of the day, and then, you know, so far the plays I've gone for just haven't worked, and I haven't really felt comfortable or felt convinced about anything else. So essentially, I've just been doing a lot of hanging out, just a lot of relaxing. You know, nothing wrong with that. No play is a play. You know, just not taking a play is a strategic decision, you know, so in a way that is a play. So now the VBLT is pushing up like this. Preferably it'll get over 205. Essentially, I can give it a little bit more time now, because it's shown that it wants to work, so now I can give it a little bit more time. F-Tech was pretty good. A little random though. Kind of hard to just randomly predict this, so I don't love it. BBLT is now showing on new Hive day scanners, so that helps me. Just looking at something like this, you know, I saw it late, I was getting prepared for it, but the reality is, you know, I just saw it a little bit too late. Surges into a halt and it resumes and just gaps up. You know, $1 a share. Straight into another halt. That's some wild stuff, and you don't see this too often. As far as momentum, not just in this name, but in multiple names. You know, very interesting momentum here on some of these biotech names. And this is actually real estate, so it's not even a particular sector. It's just kind of like anything low float. Seems to be doing really well today, so I'll try to catch one, but obviously no guarantees. Like, not gonna force a trade, but I'll do my best to catch one. I'm gonna take a starter on Dare. I mean, I'm just pulling it up now, but I mean, I like the bid support. I thought that, you know, taking 5K would be alright. It's a little questionable. And I'm out of VBLT at 2. I've given it, what, 30 minutes? I mean, this is getting ridiculous. So I had to cut it. It is what it is. I'm not going to take a loss on that, so it's fine. In the meantime, I do like how this AYRO is setting up. 707, basically risk area. If it surges over that 712, could definitely flag for another 10 to 20 cents. It would be decent. It might be too risky though. Also, I'm not loving Dare. Really want to wait for some support to come in or 712 to break. Really looking for that 712 break. Or like 5,000 shares of 711 would be cool. Trying to wait until the last second where I'm really convinced. So trying to hold off until I really think it's ready. I'm gonna go ahead and sell Dare as well. I've given it plenty of time. I'm not convinced. Sold at 124, made it around $80. Yeah. And then you got AYRO. Still holding. Now, if Dare ends up recovering, then I could try to buy the 125 breakout, perhaps. I'll take a quick shot at AYRO, and if it doesn't work, I'll just instant cut. Perfectly fine with this play at this point. It's held for a long time. I'm gonna cut there. I need to reevaluate. It really should have surged within that second. So you got to understand the precision involved in these things. You know, the logic is it's completely set up. The logic is very straightforward. You're either going to get an instant surge to new highs, or you literally have to cut within seconds. That's how precise some of these entries get. Going back to MDLY, you can see it's definitely trying. It's pretty good. Now looking on AYRO, okay, it is holding actually. Alright, I'll go ahead and give it one more shot because it does look pretty good. Nope, gonna have to cut that, and that was kind of unfortunate that I got back involved like that. I knew it wasn't proper. I knew I should stay away, and I took it anyways. So that's my fault. That's my fault. I actually think this VTGN is pretty good. This VTGN is pretty good. You can see it's held a horizontal range between 110 and 115 all morning, and now it reclaims VWAP and is forming like a little wedge pattern above VWAP there, so it's pretty decent. Just kind of waiting, seeing if I can get a better feel for it before I take the 114 or 115. See Dare getting a push of volume, it's kind of interesting. I might try to snipe a 125 breakout, see if I can get a scalp. Maybe 5 cents a share or something like that. Not the best fill on Dare. You can clearly see I was late to the punch, which is disappointing. I did want that 125 fill. 126 changes the percentages a little bit. That is kind of disappointing, to be honest. But still decent. I mean, I'll put my sitting limit at 134 just to see if I can get maybe a surge fill. You know, Dare is something that is not a big former runner, okay? I mean, like, it's had like 1 or 2 amazing days in the last year. So, you know, percentage-wise, it's probably just not going to do much. It could certainly retest these 135 area, which is what I'm going for. I'm going for that scalp to sell it into that 135 resistance zone. And we'll see, you know, if it doesn't get going, maybe I dump into 127. So at that point, I gave it plenty of time. I'm going to get out at 127 because I don't like my fill, right? I didn't like my 126 fill. There's a large bid prop at 127. It fails to really surge with momentum to even test 130. Just the overall factors, I'm just not feeling it. So I went ahead and cut. Perfectly fine. Gonna go ahead and buy VTGN. It has held the range for a long time, recovered 113, now surging into 114. I like that quite a bit. For an attempt, I think it's completely fine. If it gets a large bid prop, I could add, but other than that, it is kind of risky, so I think I'll just wait and see what happens. Deer recovered. It is what it is. Yeah, it just is what it is. Maybe I grossly misplayed Dare. Yeah, maybe I did. Perhaps the right thing to do would have just been to hold my original position from 122.5 and just not cared, right? So sometimes I am screwing up and not following my plan. Maybe that's one of those times. So I guess learn from my mistake. Follow your plans. I didn't realize how often I break my trading plans. I do it a lot. I'm gonna go ahead and add 5,000 VTGN. Just really like how it developed, and I think it could retest the 124 area. I would be extremely happy with that retest. And actually, it could even surge to new highs, so I'll go ahead and put a sitting limit at 129, just in case I get that big surge. And again, like you can just clearly see this development. It's been descending volume, it's been hovering and holding that horizontal level all morning. It's just a nice play that could have an afternoon spike and retest some of these morning levels. And that's really what I'm looking for, the plays that have proven themselves all morning and really indicated to me that they want to start testing some of these higher levels again. You can see the Dare is working very good. I feel a little silly about this. And really, the reality is I was meant to hold my 122.5 entry and I didn't. So I do feel pretty silly about that. But, learn from my example. Looks like I might be in some trouble on MDLY. It's got really slow. The level 2 has a large gap. So there's a very high likelihood that I'm going to lose all my profits on this. It's tricky because if I put in a sitting limit, it could cause a panic and a sell-off, and it could cause the play to just completely fail. So I'm really just trying to wait it out and see if some support can come in before I put in my sitting limit, or if it can recover and make new highs. I just want to wait it out. But certainly this might dump on me. I could actually end up taking a loss on this, so it's a little bit unfortunate. I also find that if you do miss a play, it sometimes works better to just take it off level 2, put in some different tickers that actually might have some potential. But you want to get rid of the stocks that are moving without you, so that you're not going to get tempted to chase it. And MDLY came down on me. I should have. I had a really specific plan on it. I probably should have just followed my. I probably should have just locked up the $350 winner. It's kind of rough. I'm having a really rough morning. Nice stretch. All right. Man, tough morning. Oh man, and MDLY is probably going to shoot up here. This is so unfortunate. Wow, this is so unfortunate. Gosh dang it. This is so unfortunate. I also just did what you should never do, which is revenge trade the entry. That was so bad. This is really gross. So I made a bad situation worse, which is what you never want to do. Not good. Okay, cut at 792. That was probably the worst mistake I've made in. Ooh, that was a very, very, very bad mistake. I haven't made that mistake in a while, so that was gross. Let's stop watching that now. Alright, here's SLS trying to make a red to green move. It's certainly a possibility. See, Darius held those gains horizontally for a while. I actually don't mind. I don't necessarily mind taking a play on this. It's pretty decent. Not yet though. Not yet. Gotta give it a little more time. So I'm up $58 on the day. It's definitely been a rough morning. It's been very painful. I've had some opportunities to have like a pretty decent morning, and then I just made some mistakes. I hesitated. I chased in certain spots, and it just awful trading, essentially. Yeah. Certainly don't always trade good. So it's tough holding VTGN because this could certainly come down on me. I could lose all my profits. I'm up $250 on it if I did decide to lock in profits here. But I'm trying to stick to my plan on it. We'll see if it ends up working or hurting me by coming all the way back down. Sometimes holding longer is the way to go, and other times I end up regretting it, but just gotta wait and see what happens. I was thinking about buying some Plaid because PLIN, packaged foods, China company, packaged food sector. It's perking up, and Plag is also the same sector. So I was thinking of buying some. I mean, I guess I could have called E-Trade to make this buy, but I just can't be bothered. It just is what it is. I'm not going to trust somebody else to put in the order for me. I think that's kind of ridiculous, so I won't be doing that. VTGN, there's some hope. There's some hope for it. It is trying to push now. You can see it had a false breakdown. It recovered the range, and now it's trying to push again. And that's really why I try to stick to my plan. Because, once the play starts working for you, it's like it can do so many random things in this higher up range. It can have like some more random chop and random variance that you're not going to be able to predict as easily as kind of this range below, where I was able to easily kind of predict a starter and then an ad when I was confident that it was ready to move up. And the higher up the range gets, the more uncertain the market is as far as if it'll hold this range, if it's good, and so you got to give it time. Sometimes sometimes holding will work out. Other times I'll get screwed. But sticking to the plan overall, in the big scheme, kind of in the long term, it's going to be the way to go. I think this 11:30 period is probably the most painful. As far as things kind of slow down, I start to get hungry, and it's a pretty painful grind here. See, VTGN is trying to fail again, so that's not very fun. I just don't feel like I can cut yet. Yeah, I'm just not willing to cut the play yet. I think I want to give it a little more time to get going. Oh, that's scary. That's a pretty scary dump. Okay. Well, now I might be forced to cut here. This is starting to get really dicey, so put my sitting limit at 119 just in case it does a quick like reversal surge, but I doubt it. I think I'm just kind of screwed. Pretty sure I'm screwed. Alright, I'm taking some SGBX because I've watched it hold that range for a very long time, and just because there's a large ask doesn't really mean shit. Actually, what it means is that the market's not willing to sell it. Even with a large ask showing, the market's still not willing to sell it. And that is why I went ahead and took that position. I just liked how the market was reacting to the price range, and I was confident that I could get the reversal and push for a new high day breakout. So now, the only question is, where do I sell it? And I think the reality is I should go for something like, I believe something like 484 feels proper to me. EKSO, it's just moving too fast for me. You know what, I'm gonna stick to my plan on VTGN. I'm moving my 10,000 sell order from 119. I want to reevaluate. Okay, so I just want to reevaluate it and see, because it feels very strong. It feels like it just shouldn't have held the range. Essentially, it shouldn't have been able to recover the range. And it has been like having these quick surges. So you know what? I just want to give it some more time and see if I can get a push to kind of follow my original trading plan on this. And obviously I'm hoping SGBX can make a push. It's looking kind of concerning. Like, it is looking quite slow. The momentum is not pushing maybe as fast as I would have preferred. It's a really nice bid prop at 51K at 118. This is very, very nice, and it could cause a really large push, which is what I would obviously want to see. And now at this point, if VTGN cannot push here over 119 and basically sells off into 118, I'm going to have to be forced to sell it. There's just no excuse at this point. It has to break out over 119 for me to be willing to hold on. If it can't pull it off, I'm going to have to dump it. I've given it a ton of time. It has the bid prop, it has the development, it's held the range. It should flag here to new highs. Like, it just has to do it. It's just a very weird spot where it's like, I'm up a decent amount of money. I don't want to lose all my profits, so it becomes quite tricky. SGBX, very disappointing. Not surging how I thought it would. Alright, so obviously VTGN pushing here, struggling. It's clearly struggling. I think this, okay, it's trying. It's trying. Nice. It might pull it off. Very slow mover. Okay. Looks promising. I'm not going to get comfortable though. I think this has a high probability of actually reverse dumping. I'm certainly not going to get comfortable in this. Wow, that's a very large wall at 122. The market might get spooked out because that's a 200,000 share wall at 122. So certainly the market could get spooked out of this. God, what a massive wall at 122. I mean, I would be incredibly surprised if it can break out over it. I mean, am I stupid for holding here? Yeah, I'm gonna have to sell it. I mean, I should have dumped it a little sooner into 121. I'm not gonna be able to hold. That support is, I mean, that resistance is just, it's just kind of ridiculous. So I'm gonna see if it can pull back, maybe hold up and then curl later in the day. I just don't think it's realistic for this to break out over 122. And I mean, I could certainly be wrong, you know, I could certainly be wrong. But you're looking at a $500 play, so I'm done with SGPX. I can't be bothered. I gave it so much time. I'm just, it's not reacting how I thought it would, and I just can't be bothered. So I sold it, made 40 bucks. Okay, so my day is turning around slowly but surely. Obviously, my performance has been a bit lackluster today. It's not as strong as I would have hoped. See SLS forming some consolidation over VWAP. I actually might take this $7 breakout. Certainly a close spot. It can't be that bad. It's been a hot ticker lately. Former runner. Huge kind of bounce setup on the multi-day. Alright, I'll go ahead and just take 2,000 shares and see if it will push into 7 here. I think it just can't be that bad, essentially. You know, you're looking at a dip from 1950 all the way down to 7. I think it's just, it's pretty decent. Alright, I'm gonna have to dump it though, because if you saw what happened there, $7 broke out. They put in AK shares. That got surged through. They put in another AK shares. So it's just very clear there's somebody that has a ton of shares that doesn't want their shares to be shown to the market, which obviously that scares the market quite a bit, and it's a strong indicator that the play is going to fail. So I cut it so that I wouldn't take a big loss, and then I can reevaluate later. Maybe it'll retest later in the day and be able to pull it off, but for now, I think it's just not going to do it. Kind of an interesting setup from CYTH. It's kind of unfortunate though, because I am seeing it way too late. The optimal entry would have been to play this volume wash. Play it on this trend break around 714 area. Risking kind of something like, let's zoom in here a bit. So actually the optimal entry is right here at 711. Then the key support, something like 704. And that plan would have worked extremely well. But I just missed it, and I'm not willing to take this higher range. Go ahead and take 5,000 shares of ETGN at 122 because it is pushing quite hard. See if I can't get a quick scalp. So for the re-entry, I'm only willing to take 5,000 shares. And I'm going to go ahead and change my trading plan. That wash was really scary. Might just be a massive trap, so Let's see if I can't get out for a small loss or maybe even a small win here. I have a sitting limit at 124. That would be a $100 win. Decent little scalp. If I can get it, I would take it. I'm not comfortable in this at all. Okay, so I got filled at 124. So look, when this pushes and then has a quick panic dump back down to the 120 area, that is market uncertainty. So basically what that is showing me is that this has a high probability that it could come down and then reverse dump back down to the 117 area perhaps. The point is, I'm no longer comfortable just sitting, hanging out, and just waiting for the trend. I'm just not comfortable. I decided to put in a sitting limit, get out where I thought was reasonable, but I don't know. It's just giving me weird vibes. It's giving me very weird vibes. Now, I didn't panic sell, okay? Like, I didn't panic sell. I knew that it's okay, I can risk that the key 120. But for a second, you can clearly see I was down $100, and that's just not something I'm okay with. The bid felt kind of thin, and it's like, yeah, you know what? I'm just going to try to lock it up at 124, and if it goes higher, look, it just is what it is. At the end of the day, I still made $100. I didn't panic for a quick, pointless loss or anything. I just evaluated the situation appropriately and got out safely. Obviously, if it breaks 120, though, there's not going to be a lot of thinking involved. I'm just kind of going to have to pretty much just dump, which would have been really unfortunate. This is definitely interesting price action. It's like surging into the sell, but then it seems like then one entity is kind of just surging it back up and giving it life again. It is pretty interesting. Not really sure how to read this. Did end up working, and it is curling. Alright. I guess it would have been pretty cool if I stuck to my original plan, but at the same time, I really don't mind. I really don't mind how I played it. Sometimes the plays are super easy and straightforward and go exactly where you want them to go without any headache. And other times, they're very choppy, very hard to predict. And when you're working with plays like this, you can be up $500 one second and then be down 200 the next. Like, it's extremely hard to predict. That's why I decided to just basically scalp it the way I did. As you can see, I would have hit my profit target, or perhaps not. I would not have gotten filled at 129 just yet, but it does look pretty promising. But look, I chose to mitigate my risk, so I decreased my risk by playing it the way I played it. Because I felt like it was appropriate for this situation. Now, if you want to be more aggressive and you want to just hold on and play the bigger trend and really just have patience and really go for it, you know, by all means, do that. There is no right or wrong with trading. You just kind of got to go with what you're comfortable with and what you think is optimal for that situation. And yeah, think for yourself. You know, that's what I always tell people. Find what works for you, and once you find what is consistent for you, you can repeat it over and over and make good money. So whether if you're better at holding for those bigger trends, by all means, do that for sure. I'm just not, just not one of my strong suits. Eyes is kind of interesting. Just pulling it off the stocks to trade, you can see a nice little curl here. Former runner, low float. It's kind of interesting. I'll keep an eye on it. No pun intended. Alright. Alright, I'm going to end the live trading video here. Hope you enjoyed some of the spots. Obviously not every spot was entertaining and not every trade was good. I think I made one of the biggest mistakes I've made in a long time. And that was obviously the re-entry chase on MDLY. That was completely uncalled for, inappropriate, and it was a complete chase. So I have to take responsibility for that and just make it very clear that that was an example of a trade that is going to be losing you money in the long term. You have to be disciplined to not do that. And it just goes to show how trading is such a mental game, because I'm 4 years into my trading career and I still am capable of chasing plays, which is insane, right? But it never really goes anywhere. The instinct to chase, that will never go anywhere, but you will get better at managing it over time, and I think that's the key. Now, I'm not going to take this re-entry. I made my plays. I'm good. I'm done with it. Alright, so I'm taking an afternoon look at the ticker DARE. Because as you can see, it's formed those higher lows, holding its gains horizontally all day. And it's kind of testing this, it could test, the third time touch at that 134 break could lead to a nice breakout over 135, maybe a surge to the 140s. So I think it has some good potential. I am kind of anticipating that it'll have to hold kind of this upper range for probably a solid 20-30 minutes. And then I'll be looking for the curl for the new Hive Day breakout. So that's kind of what I'm camping it for. So we'll see if it can pull it off. was also in 2,000 shares of EQ from 5 and seeing these bid props. I'm going to go ahead and add 2K at 5029, so 503 essentially. And what I'm looking at this, we're seeing an uptrend held all morning. Now we're perking to the new highs. And if you look at the long-term chart, it is a nice former runner. It is able to make multi-dollar moves. It's very washed out from this original news back in 7/17/2020. And what I'm looking for a $1 a share push, if not $2, to basically flag out of this triangle and attempt to test the former highs or the former resistance in the $6 area. So for something like this, I wouldn't really go for a home run. I would happily lock up at $1 a share, especially because I am in 4,000 shares. So 5015 is my average, and at this point I'm just going to let it roll, see if it can fit the trend. The hot trend today is large volume surges into halts, volatility halts, and then after that halt, it's having a nice gap up out of the halt, which I would like to sell into. So we'll see if we can get the momentum. Again, it just comes down to does the market agree? Does the people watching it, do they like it as well? Do they want to go long as well? And is there enough, maybe shorts stuck in this and enough people willing to go long? Will that cause a surge? And you really don't know. You have to take an appropriate entry with a risk plan and just go for it. And you just will never know what has that amazing potential or not. That's why I like to take a stab at it and just see. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, but I feel like the risk is very low and the reward is very high. So we'll take a look and see if I can get the push. Also, it's very challenging to play this because the spread is so weak. The bid side is so weak, and the volume surges are big size and really hard to predict. I might take 5,000 shares to see if I can get a 5-cent scalp, but I'm not really loving it. We'll see. I'll go ahead and take 5K dare, just see if I can get a 140 push. I think it's ready. You can't get much better development than this. Maybe I am pulling the trigger a little prematurely, but the surges have been very hard to predict, so I'm alright with just going for it. Looks like EQ is getting pretty weak on me. All I can really do is stick to the plan and hope it holds up for me. But I can't really do much besides that. Yeah, unfortunately the surge is just not really coming into Dare, so I might cut this for a small loss. Okay, now I feel pretty confident in it. Actually, I want to move this to 143. Because I think if it surges over 140, it should be able to get to the low. You know, some of those low 140s numbers, something like 143, I would be pretty happy with. I think it's a pretty solid scalp. That's a nice surge of volume. I just don't want to push my luck. Because this entry, you know, I am entering the very top of the range, it's just not really that great. And EQ is getting very weak, really unfortunate. I feel like I'm getting kind of unlucky with my low float plays. They just aren't surging like the other ones, and maybe I'm missing something, but you know, a lot of this stuff really is just the flip of the coin, and you either get the hit or you don't, and it just is what it is. So I'm still going to try to stick to my plan on this, but I'll probably have to sell it for hopefully a small win. You know, hopefully I don't go red on the trade, but anything can happen. It's obviously tough when you're working with long-term charts that are this developed, and former runners. It's obviously tough because it's easy to be like, oh, I should have just locked up the 10 cents for a $450 win. It's like, yeah, I could have, but if it runs and if the market latches on and this gets hot, it can go $1 or $2 a share, which is, you know, $4,000 to $8,000. So if that occurs after I lock up the $400 win, I'll feel stupid for the rest of the day, right? I don't want to feel like shit, so I would rather just stick to my plan and see where it goes. You know, I would much rather prefer that. Let's see if I can get that 140 push on Dare. I've got a sitting limit at 143. I would be very happy with that scalp. Just a nice $400 scalp if I can get the fill. You know, when you're working with a long-term chart that looks like Dare's, you don't really want to stick around because there's no way of really knowing how high it can go. Like, it is a former runner, sure, but look at where it's coming from. Like, this is just a bounce, and I do expect it'll get stuffed by these resistance levels. So I'm trying to scalp it before it gets stuffed back down. The likelihood that it's going to work as far as being like a major breakout and finding new highs over this top, I mean, it's just really unrealistic. Although this market is pretty crazy, so I guess anything's possible, but I'm not really willing to go for that. You know, the thing about these bigger floats like Dare, you kind of have to just let the big players battle. The volume surges are going to be big in either direction, and it's really hard to predict. So it's better just to stick to the plan, see if you get that big volume surge over the 140 that, you know, a big player could do that instantly. So you kind of just got to wait it out and see what happens. I also don't really mind just selling it at 139 or 140. I actually think that would have been completely fine. I chose not to, but um, I wouldn't fault somebody for selling it there. So now there's 20,000 shares at 139. Hmm. I'll wait a little bit longer. Yeah, it's getting pretty dicey. It's gonna have to push and flag sooner. I kind of see it just coming right back down. BCLI seems pretty reasonable. This is a long-term chart that has really washed out in a significant way. It gapped down on really bad news, and now it's making a really nice TA setup. You can see it's got the bottom, curls up, double bottom, higher low into the test, holding the range for multiple days. It's very bullish, and it could certainly find the surge bounce for maybe a short squeeze back up into the $6 range. I like that quite a bit. Dare is holding 138 so far, which is, you know, pretty good. Pretty good. It's tempting to take this BCLI at 534. I could probably take it out, make the test 535, really tempting. I might do it. It's kind of risky though. It's like $100 risk if I go for that. It's hard to tell. There's not a lot of support here. It's hard to read it. I'm sure there's a lot of hidden buyers and sellers. Just really difficult stuff. Ooh, 69K at 138. What's up, Dare? That's really strong support. It should push. I'm not willing to add though. I'm just not willing to add. I think my entry was just too high up to really justify it. So. Alright, let's just take it. Let's take it. I'm in 3,000 shares of BCLI. 534.5. I'm basically going to try to risk break even. I think that's pretty proper. It's kind of hit or miss. It might surge, it might not. It's just the fact that the long-term chart is so set up for a bounce. I really like it a lot. I think the risk reward is extremely good. I changed my dare to 144. I had it at 143. I think, logically, I just think 144 push before the half zone. You know, the psychological 145 zone. I think I can get filled at 144. We'll see. I mean, it would be an extra $50. I think it's fine to go for it. I think it's pretty good. And obviously, as I'm chilling with the other plays, EQ looks pretty promising. And BCLI is just not going for me, so I'll probably cut BCLI soon. And if Dare doesn't push soon, I mean, I might just cut it into 139, honestly. Okay, it's trying 536 again. And the thing about EQ is it's basically like these plays have been surging into halts. Look, I have to go for it. Like, it's a hot trend. The momentum push into halt is just such a hot pattern right now. There's just no selling it. Like, I have to go for the big move. I just have to. It's happening enough percentage of the time that not going for it is just suboptimal. Like, it's just not going to pay off. Selling it in the 520s when I could potentially get a move to 620. It's the risk reward just calls for a hold. $20K share into 140. Not bad, but let's keep it going. So at this point, I'm up enough money on EQ. I'm going to go ahead and get a sitting limit order ready. I'm going to go ahead and plug it in at 619. Just in case something wild happens. And of course you got Dare, which it's just really struggling to get over this 140. I might sell it into 139. I'm just not convinced. I want to stick to the plan, but it's a really, really close spot. It's a really close spot between the cut and the hold. Okay, I'm cutting it. It's $200 win. Look, this is the type of play, because it is a bounce play on the long-term chart and it is in a range with a lot of resistance, a lot of people that are down money on their positions on the long-term chart. Like, look, this is a spot where you see 69,000 support. It looks all great, but look, somebody could easily dump 100,000 shares at market at any second. This is not really a convincing enough price zone just to hang out. Do I think I could get over 140? Absolutely, but I've given it a ton of time, and at this point, I'm just not willing. You know. Look, if I see it pushing into 140 in the future, maybe I'll go for it. But for right now, I'm alright with just kind of waiting it out, and locking in my $200 win. So now I'm up 954 on the day, not bad. EQ, unfortunately, not surging for me, but it did this before where it perked up, had to come down and hold support to find new highs. So maybe this will come down, hopefully, you know, hold support and then find some new highs for the curl. Realistically, if this play is hot, this could continue making these higher lows for a couple hours. You know, I might have to hold this play for multiple hours to find the peak upside. So as long as it's, you know, as long as I'm up money on this position, I'll just keep trying to hold on, keep trying to stick to my plan. Even though I am up, what, $800 I was up and I didn't lock it up. That's okay with me though, because I have a very specific plan for this, and I'm working on my patience. So let's see if it pays off in this case or not. Missed a really nice pattern here on ATXI. I just completely forgot to watch it, so that's unfortunate. And EQ now looks like it's coming down, which, that's unfortunate. So, a couple of really unfortunate things. Although BCLI still looks pretty promising. Kinda wonder if I should add to BCLI. Pretty tempting, honestly. going to go ahead and just add 3K to 538. I just think that the risk reward is still good and proper in this zone. So what's going to happen is I needed to push over 538 and test that 540 on the multi-day, and if it doesn't, I'm going to have to immediately cut it, essentially. So yeah, we'll see. Okay, here's the push over 538 that I was looking for. Let's see if I can get over that 540 level, because that's really the key resistance on this multi-week setup. Now, a factor that's actually on my side is that ATXI is the same setup as BCLI. So it had a multi-day setup, it broke out of this downtrend for the bounce because it had really bad gap down news. And if you look at BCLI, it's the same thing. So I had gap down news, but look at the setup, very nice. So realistically, BCLI could just follow ATXI. It could almost be thought of as a sympathy play to ATXI. Now, it's not always going to work out like that, but that is why I'm taking such a big position and being so aggressive in this spot. I just feel very confident that if this works, the risk reward is going to be amazing. And it could even turn into a multi-day runner. So I'm willing to go for this, and if it works, I could possibly make $1 a share. So I think the risk reward is phenomenal. And yeah, we'll see what happens. Alright, EQ held support. Let's see if it can push and reclaim the 520s. That's really what it needs right now. And if it doesn't succeed in pushing into the 520s again and gets slow, I'll probably have to dump my position and try to lock up at least a small win, preferably. So today seems to be one of those days where a lot of the plays are patience plays. You just gotta kind of wait. You gotta just stick to your plan and try to let them curl. Try to let them find the higher lows. And obviously, during periods of time when the market is acting this way, it's extremely challenging because when you're waiting patiently, they can dump on you. So it's higher variance. You're going to get dumped on more often, which sucks. But at the same time, if you find the one that has like a really nice multi-hour uptrend, you could absolutely bank. So kind of the higher risk gets made up for when they do find the healthy uptrend for you. So that's the way that a lot of the plays have been running recently. They're kind of patience plays. So I'm in 6,000 shares of BCLI at 536 average. When it comes to this play, it either is going to break out of 540 in the very near future, or I'm probably going to have to dump it. Preferably, get a 536 fill so I can get out break even. But obviously, sometimes I'm going to get slippage. It could get nasty, right? It's just one of those plays. I could be risking quite a bit on this if it dumps on me. Now, I hope that doesn't happen, but we'll see. And it's more of a time frame approach where I needed to hold the range, and then I needed to to curl and get over the multi-day resistance, it shouldn't take that long to pull that off if this play is meant to be great. If it gets too slow and too choppy and too just gross, the momentum just is not there, then I'll have to get out, try to protect my capital and protect myself and, cut it for a small win or a small loss. Because you still can't forget what you're in. You're in a really awful company, just an awful biotech company that's bad sushi. That you definitely don't want to hang around in this too long. You really just want to go for the explosive play that you feel it could have. If you don't get it, just get out of the way and get out of there. So we'll see if I can get the surge in the near future, or I'm gonna have to cut it. SLS is curling to make a new highs. Now, I was aware of this and I did take a shot at it in the morning, but it spooked me out for a small loss and then got really gross. Look, some plays I'm okay with just leaving. I do think this could curl and find a lot of momentum and bounce because it is so washed out on the long-term chart, but sometimes you gotta make the call. I just wasn't feeling it, and if I'm not feeling something, I don't have a problem just sitting it out and watching it. So that's what I decided to do here with SLS. Just a little too choppy for me today. The range is a little bit too wide, a little bit too slow for me to really feel comfortable enough to take an entry on this. So yeah, I'm cool with just watching it. Alright, BCLI, let's go. Gonna need it to surge. It is taking too long, I would say. It's getting pretty concerning. Definitely getting concerning. It should have, I feel like it at least tested. Yeah, no, this is definitely getting concerning. So at this point, if 538 fails, I'm cutting immediately. Hopefully it can hold 538. We'll see. $3,000 share ask at 539. That's bearish. It'll probably come down. It'll most likely come down, yeah. Definitely weighted towards bearish. That doesn't mean it can't recover. It doesn't mean that a big player, maybe somebody's short in this big and they want to just like cover 20,000 shares at market. Well, that'll push it right over 540. So you don't know what type of players are sitting in this, and you still want to give it time to potentially surge, but you also got to feel it out and be realistic that like, hey, I think this is probably going to fail on me. I got to get ready to sell it at market, if it starts to come down. So we'll see. Dare is doing a really great job of holding that 140 test area. So that's pretty interesting. I am keeping an eye on that. Alright, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut out a BCLI. Look, I had a game plan. I tried to wait as long as I possibly could. I sized in 6,000 shares. If it surges over 540, I could have made, $6,000 on that play. But it didn't work for me and that momentum wasn't there. So I got out of the way for a $30 loss, it's no problem. No problem at all. You can always reevaluate, maybe restart sizing into it if it holds up the range and curls. Maybe that'll happen in an hour or two. And I've given EQ plenty of time. I'm probably going to have to cut this. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and cut it. So I'm on at 513 on EQ. I locked up $400 or so on that. So a small win on a failed play. I'm totally cool with it. I think it's completely fine. And then Dare has failed and is coming down. So we can stop watching Dare. Now I should also mention if EQ can hold the range and then curl later in the afternoon, I am willing to take a new entry on it. It's just for the time being I'm not willing to. I'm seeing XCure a bit late. I don't really love it. I don't love T8 that looks like this. Not my favorite stuff. Will it work though? Yeah, it looks decent. Yeah, it looks like it would have been a pretty good play to go for. Especially on the VWAP reclaim, maybe you enter at 179, risking something like 176, and you are getting some pretty good upside here. So yeah, that would have been a nice play. I'm just saw it a little bit too late. And a play like this, pretty much just a scalp play. Like, it's not really something you want to stick around in. That TA is just not strong enough. But you never know. Let's see, KXIN. Looks like 430 is the key level. Multi-day bounce play, so if it gets over 430 it could flag and start bouncing on the long-term chart. I think it's a really good bounce setup. So I would be willing to go for this if I felt that 430 was going to break out. I think it's definitely reasonable. At the same time though, it's pretty high risk, so I'm not really sure about that. I am happy with my cuts on EQ and on BCLI. I think it was the right move. It was necessary to protect myself, I felt like, and I've got no regrets in that regard.